All of your favorite creators are lying to you. They don't care about you, they don't know you, and for the love of God, they are not your friends. Yet despite this, time and time again, I notice people worshipping, as they would with someone on a higher plane. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's fine to praise people for doing good work, but it goes farther than that. To be referred to as a god in your field isn't an everyday occurrence. It's a title for the exceptional, only given to the best of the best. But sometimes, it's a good idea to peel back the curtain. We spend so much time watching someone, learning about their tastes and experiences, that we put them on a pedestal. But the higher you place someone, the more extreme the damage when they inevitably crash into the ground. It's probably best to ask ourselves, who exactly we're really praying to.
Someone called the president. A YouTuber's about to talk about parasocial relationships.
Parasocial relationship.
Parasocial relationship.
Because the truth is, my deep psychological need for connection and community is currently not being met.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Before we can get anywhere, it would probably be best to define some terms and explain what exactly parasocial relationships are. According to the eScholarly Community Encyclopedia, a real grade A source there,
a parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship that media users form as a result of exposure to media personas. A parasocial interaction, an exposure that garners interest in a persona, becomes a parasocial relationship after repeated exposure to the media persona causes the media users to develop illusions of intimacy, friendship, and identification.
Simply put, a parasocial relationship is a one-way connection to someone you don't know through repeated viewing of the program they are part of, and are the building blocks utilized by many entertainers over the years. The term was actually coined all the way back in the 1950s by Donald Horton and R. Richard Wohl. This was in regards to the most modern technology at the time, television personalities. For the first time ever, people were able to directly see the entertainers in front of them without the entertainers being able to see them back. This connection only gets more extreme when combined with other factors, like artistic works. The rise of celebrity culture is the most visceral example. An artist pours their experiences, be it tragedies, comedies, stories, or just good vibes into their work, and in response, an audience that resonated with it will begin to attach themselves to the originator of the work. As a society, we like to recognize talented people, but this can lead into some murky waters. Tabloids, following certain public figures doing whatever they can to pry into their lives and dig up just a little more gossip. Celebrities are literally, directly placed on a different level, hence the term celebrity worship. If the program featuring the persona comes to an end, you get parasocial breakup. While a regular breakup comes from one of the parties of a relationship, a parasocial one is the result of a third-party cancellation of a program, cutting off the connection between the viewer and persona. This phenomenon is also a big reason why MatPat's retirement earlier this year hurt to see. Even though game theory itself wasn't ending, Matt's run on it was. His departure signifies the end of an era. Even if he doesn't personally know his viewers, his educational videos instilled an interest in science into the minds of millions. And seeing him move on to other things made all of us feel old too. To some, it might even feel like a betrayal. We subscribe to game theory to see MatPat, not whoever these people are. Even this many months later, it's still kind of weird to think that we've now made it to a point where the earliest online entertainers are moving on. This breakup can even happen with fictional characters. In December 1893, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle published a short Sherlock Holmes story in an issue of the Strand magazine, called The Final Problem, in which the main character, Sherlock Holmes, presumably dies after falling into a gorge alongside the dangerous Moriarty. The character remained dead for the following decade, and with the release of the story, fans were allegedly mourning in the streets, weeping and grieving over the death of a fictional character who does not exist. Outraged fans would cancel their subscriptions to the magazine and nearly put it out of business. At first, that might sound a bit absurd, but when comparing these two instances, they have a lot more in common than you'd expect. Both of these have people emotionally connecting with fictional characters, one being the fictional written detective, and the other being MatPat, the semi-fictional persona of Matthew Patrick used to present the shows he hosts. Time and time again, we see people connecting with fictional personalities, or more accurately, personas. Things have evolved a lot over the last 130 years, but some things are guaranteed to stay the same. Discussion of parasociality has only gotten more mainstream. YouTube and other platforms have profoundly altered the way we look at this stuff. For the first time ever, regular, everyday people can potentially climb the ranks and achieve celebrity status as online entertainers. That line between artist and audience was blurred.
Social media introduces additional opportunities for parasocial relationships to intensify because it provides more opportunities for intimate, reciprocal, and frequent interactions between the user and persona.
The rap collective Odd Future were pioneers of this, as they were able to utilize parasocial relationships and the internet to ignite the careers of some of the most influential rap artists today. The group had this aura of a bunch of friends just hanging out and shooting the shit, making music with purposely offensive lyrics to get a rise out of people. And this made the group more relatable. They were just some kids on YouTube. And fans were able to directly interact with members through Tumblr. All of a sudden, the lines between artist and fan were a little more thin. And hearing directly from the artists could become a reason to love their work even more. This directly correlates to... In recent years, discussion of parasociality has ingrained itself into mainstream discourse. This is thanks to the rise of streamers, and also the Gen Z loneliness epidemic. Live streaming personalities use parasocial relationships far more effectively than YouTubers ever can. In the early days, the average YouTube gaming video consisted of unedited 10-minute clips of someone playing a game. But the rise of editing quality came with a more and more noticeable filter between creator and viewers. The nature of live content allows for viewers to go back to that more down-to-earth feel. By talking in the stream chat, a viewer has a direct line of contact with a creator. No longer do they have to pretend that someone's talking to them, they can be heard in real time. With streamers, the line between attachment and entertainment is intertwined. If a streamer you've been watching for years does something different and avant-garde, you'd be more likely to stick around, to support them as you would a friend. It's one thing seeing a TV or radio host for a few minutes at a time, but with streamers, they're expected to broadcast themselves for hours on end, and their careers are often built on the idea that they're homegrown and genuine people, with repeated parasocial interactions on Twitter only making the connection stronger. This allows them to build these dedicated fan bases that follow the creator from platform to platform just to see what they're up to. The kind of audience that would be willing to watch a stream for 8 hours. An audience that would watch something new and different just to support their favorite creators' endeavors. And of course, the kind of audience that'd be willing to buy merchandise. This fundamental component is what makes streaming sustainable. The lower production quality and dead air is all forgiven when it can build the illusion that you're not just watching a friend, but helping a friend. But because of that lower barrier to entry, it becomes harder and harder to get a leg up. Statistically, the majority of streamers will only ever get a single digit worth of concurrent views, and when you're at the bottom of streamer society, you have to use whatever you can to get a leg up. And in this case, that's parasocial relationships. It's a bit of an open secret that in the world of streaming, parasocial attachment is what pays the bills and feeds you. After all, that money isn't coming from thin air, it's coming from the viewers. To many of them, reaction streams come off as a watch party with a group of friends. SMP Live and other collaborative streams can effectively trick the viewer into believing they're part of a friend group, but that blurs the line between. So we've established that people feel direct connections with indirect personas and people, and that it can make them feel both heard and betrayed. What about the other way around? How does the audience affect the artist? While I'd love to say that everyone just makes art in a vacuum for their own enjoyment, the audience itself directly or indirectly also plays a role, which means explaining it is slightly more complicated, pity me. In more direct mediums like stand-up comedy, hecklers, while unwanted, often lead to some extra shenanigans you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Whether they add something to give the comedian material, or get epically shut down with facts and logic, the outcome is that they ultimately add to the experience, for better or worse. In WWE, the crowd's chants are usually part of the in-universe world, and on rare occasions can influence what happens in the plot. Roman Reigns was one of the most reviled WWE champions ever, but the crowd's boos would ultimately become his weakness years down the line, the years of real-life hate getting to this fictional character, the voice of the audience being the gateway from spectator to participant. Live streaming takes this idea even further. A good streamer knows how to make the chat a central part of the appeal. It becomes a character the streamer can banter with, or compete with. Sometimes the streamer isn't needed at all. Twitch Plays Pokemon was a really impressive achievement that wouldn't be possible anywhere else, the chat being able to maneuver through the entirety of the game. Even in less direct mediums, the audience's influence can be seen. You ever notice how some movies get unnecessary sequels and others intended for one don't? It's because the audience chose to watch it and it made a lot of money. They're not going to let that cash cow die, at least, not without milking it first. The audience's effect on careers is ever more present when talking about music artists. How many big, successful artists have you heard talk about becoming big and successful? The answer is a lot of them. Because fame changes people. It causes them to reflect on their experiences. Hell, that's why I'm in the position to make this video to begin with. Without the fans, the artists would still be nobodies. An audience relationship I keep returning to time and time again is that of Bo Burnham. Now, this isn't another YouTube video essay about Inside. We already have enough of those. But rather, a brief look into how he conducts himself on stage and his relationship with the audience. It's no secret that Bo has a troubled relationship with the audience. If you go to his YouTube channel, 3 of his most popular videos are songs with him talking about the audience. The first about his addiction to the attention the audience gives to him and the parasitic relationship he feels he has with them.
My drug's attention, I am an addict, but I get paid to indulge in my habits.
As well as the disconnect he feels from them.
I'm wearing makeup, makeup.
The next has him discussing that problem, his dependency on people that don't know him. He needs that validation, so much to the point that it causes him mental anguish. He does all this while performing on stage, using autotune as a filter so he's able to speak his honest feelings under the guise of a bit.
I come and watch the skinny kid with a steadily declining mental health, and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself.
This would be his last stage appearance to date, and he would leave the public spotlight for the next 5 years. In the last one, he cries out for attention, for all eyes to be on him while completely alone in a room at night, partying with himself, telling his story to disconnected cheering sounds he added in post.
5 years ago, I quit because I was beginning to have severe panic attacks while on stage.
When you hear this, you'd think he'd be the type to use parasocial relationships, but in practice, this isn't the case. Just look at how he immediately shuts down heckling fans.
No, you fucking don't. You do not.
Because his honest monologues aren't just reflecting his honest opinions, they're also an integral part of his shows. His comedy specials, despite being just an hour each, clearly took a very long time for him to both conceive and memorize. He points out in the few live specials he's done that everything he does on stage is thoroughly scripted, even using that framework to make jokes about his convoluted attention to detail. He puts more effort into making it seem like he put in less. Months of work, if not more, was put into writing, recording, memorizing, and rehearsing, and at the end of that process, for that 1 hour special, Bo is the funniest, wittiest, most charismatic man in the world. With that in mind, I wouldn't want to be friends with Bo Burnham. I'd want to be friends with the version of him on stage, after revision after revision. The persona that appears once every few years. I think the same thing goes for YouTubers as a whole. You don't want to be friends with me because in a conversation with me, all you'd get is a shittier, less thought out version of what you see in my videos. The relationship between fans and artists is a lot more clearly drawn than with internet creators. As you see right now, I'm on the stage, and all of you are watching me up here. But with something like YouTube, there's nothing stopping people like you, any of you, from making something of your own and joining me here on stage. In the past, it wasn't really like this. Until the internet, the only way to have a hit song was to be in a label and get radio play or record sales. Ideally, all of the above. But now, bedroom pop stars are some of the most popular artists alive right now. All you need to do is make the song and put it online. This of course leads to deeper discussion about creators on YouTube, or what I like to call, me. The landscape of YouTube is mainly composed of 2 parts, the creators and the audience surrounding them. The YouTubers bring in the traffic, but the audience is the lifeblood of the site, the views that keep the creators here. The objective relationship between creator and fan is symbiotic, because by watching a creator, you're directly benefiting them through either ads or YouTube Premium. And yet there's so many viewers that they don't even have a name, aside from just guys.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome back, guys. Hey, guys. What's going on, guys?
YouTubers without an audience probably wouldn't make videos. And if they did, they wouldn't be making this.
We'll reveal crazy secrets about Rainbow Friends.
They'd make actual passion projects with no financial incentive, no one to abide by besides themselves. But I don't think this would actually lead to more good art, or at least more entertaining videos. True passion projects will be made regardless of a financial incentive. I was just making garbage videos until one day the algorithm picked up that garbage and showed it to everyone. You can actually watch in real time as I panic and have to learn how to actually make videos, but without an audience, that push never would have happened. I'd probably have just kept talking to myself in the void, with bad videos that no one would watch. Another distinction I rarely see being made with YouTubers are content creators versus internet personalities. Content creators primarily rely on their content. They can still have a personality, but usually it's secondary to the topic they're attached to. The main reason people tune into these channels is for their good ideas and good execution of those ideas. In my eyes, one of the few great streamers is DougDoug. His creative ideas, expert use of live stream chat, and innovative use of AI technology leaves him as a powerhouse in terms of content. When I watch a DougDoug video, I'm not watching it just for Doug, I'm watching it because I know it'll be a good video. But of course, the downside is that if the content suddenly changes to a format viewers aren't used to, there's no guarantee that they'll stick around. You're more likely to be trapped in a box, when people are only going to you for the thing inside it. However, a lot of people watch Doug because he's an internet personality. They don't have to make content that's nearly as objectively engaging because they have the attachment to the character to keep people watching. They have a more devoted audience because of this, and you'll usually see ample cross-growth across their socials. Their only true weakness is the damage cancellation can cause them. Of the two categories I brought up, I'm not much of an internet personality, and I'm definitely no influencer. I'm not influencing shit. I see my relationship with everyone who watches me as a mutual exchange. I make the videos I want to make, and you support the content by watching it. If I ever stop making good videos, I want you to stop watching. The foundation of a viewer base stays so long as the videos are good. It's a different foundation, but one that can be just as fragile as the parasocial one. So now we know everything there is to know about YouTubers. But what separates a man from a god? To be a successful YouTuber, you have to garner some level of respect from the audience that watches you. Yes, even morally reprehensible YouTubers are usually respected by a portion of their audience. But to be considered a god, you have to get respect from the best. Let me show you a visual metaphor I like to call the train of inspiration. It's an interconnected system of tracks and stops, where each stop has a creator and their catalog of videos. I'd personally classify a YouTuber as a god if they can get a lot of people to stop and get inspired. This means they have to either make really good content, have really good ideas, or have an audience dedicated enough to get a ticket there. On YouTube, there are a number of creators I would consider to have reached that status. This is for a number of different reasons, whether it's for the projects they contributed to, the connections they've garnered from the community, the intense dedication of their fanbase, or the expertise they display in navigating the landscape of the website. While I'm trying to coin the term god here, the concept of YouTuber worship is by no means a novel idea. Recently there was the whole 7 heavenly virtues and 7 deadly sins as YouTubers trend, and in those videos the creator assigns each sin or virtue to a popular YouTuber. Something you might notice is that assigning moral value to people you barely know is a bit strange. This one takes the 7 deadly sins and compares them to the 7 heavenly virtues. Riveting. Now, I'd hate to grandstand, I've used this video format before to great success, but the difference is that I talked about bad practices in the mobile game industry rather than using real people that actually exist. But that's exactly where the disconnect lies. This is exactly what a YouTuber god is. When you think of Moist Critical, Penguin Zero, you might just see a small-statured man, but on YouTube, he's larger than life. He's seen as this perfect caricature, everything a YouTuber should be, so much to the point where they literally assign him with the virtue of humility. He's made it to a point where people just talking about him have entire careers doing just that. To these people, Charlie is a YouTuber god, because a god shapes things in their own image. Parasocial relationships are by themselves unproblematic. It only becomes an issue in any of the following conditions. A private boundary with the persona is overstepped, the persona manipulates the relationship to swindle money from their audience, or the audience harasses a third party due to the actions of the persona, intentionally or not. Outside of these, I think parasocial relationships are perfectly fine. especially if both sides are well aware of what the situation is and don't try to make it into anything it's not. But nonetheless, I can't help but feel like this YouTuber worship is a bad mindset. It assumes that creators we like are above doing things that we deem immoral. And we keep having to be reminded time and time again by these awful situations that we should never fully put our trust into people we don't know. So in the following sections, I'm going to try to take some people down a peg. Now, this is not an expose video. I'm not trying to cancel anyone, just humanize them, to expose some noticeable but forgivable flaws that can lower that pedestal ever so slightly. Otherwise, we risk letting that status go toxic. It's also worth mentioning that you're allowed to enjoy the content of anyone I discuss in this video. I've taken inspiration from a ton of people, and I'll talk about it later, in excruciating detail. However, if you're getting personally offended by my critiques of someone you like, then maybe, just maybe, you're another part of the problem. Now, let's slay some gods. Hbomberguy is a creator you've probably heard about from his yearly videos where he deep dives into fraud hack losers for several hours at a time. He's someone I have a lot of respect for. After all, not many can get me to join a Patreon just to watch half a video a week early. I first started watching him after he released a giant takedown of Tommy, My Mother is Very Proud Tallarico, whose mother is very proud. After he made his Roblox oof video, he made a very long, very in-depth video about plagiarism on YouTube. Maybe you've seen it. Generally, it's a very good video. It goes over some well-known cases, then becomes an elaborate takedown of some gay guy I've never heard of. But throughout the video, there were a couple things that stood out to me. Moments where you can see Hbomberguy's personal bias at play. A bias that sometimes makes a negative impact on the points he makes. These especially stand out as he almost constantly discusses the importance of objective evidence. Sometimes he uses some sneaky tricks. Early on in the video, he goes over a previous case of someone named Luke Stevens, formerly Lukey Poo, plagiarizing his video. This is something that happened 7 years ago at this point, but it fit with the theme, so it's whatever. As some sort of own, he brings up allegations that Luke is apparently still getting accused of plagiarizing his scripts, using a Reddit discussion as evidence. Now, I'm gonna think like an editor for a second. I understand why he'd censor the names. They're unrelated private figures who don't need to be known to understand the story. But why would he feel the need to censor the date? Well, because the accusation here is years old, and if he kept them in, people might question if the claims are still valid. According to his unexpectedly genuine apology after the video dropped, Luke seems to have completely owned up to his mistakes, and Hbom kind of ends up looking like a petty asshole here. Of course, this is just the gift of hindsight, but I do find it interesting to see how he'll alter the audience's impression of someone he doesn't want us to like. In his section on Internet Historian, those problems become ever more apparent, making the claim that his fans are all right-wing, 4chan-pilled political extremists, which, like, the guy has 4 million subscribers. Maybe they aren't all Nazis? Obviously I'm being a bit facetious here, but that's the impression the segment gave off. Bad people like this guy's videos, so you should feel bad for liking them too. You already had him nailed on the plagiarism. Why go after him with these other, much weaker points? All it does is encourage his more extreme fans to rally around him, and encourages less extreme fans to become more extreme after an attack on something they like. Ultimately, he ended up making the exact type of video he apparently detests. Throughout the video, Harry has a serious bone to pick with what he describes as drama YouTube.
Drama YouTube. The worst part of YouTube.
In the aforementioned section about Internet Historian, he gives a shout out to the YouTube drama subreddit. So if any of the people watching wanted more drama for whatever reason, he practically left an open invitation for whoever wants in. A part of me wonders whether Hbom actually hates drama, or if he just wants to remake the landscape in his own image. This subreddit completely exploded, and for a while became a community almost solely dedicated to harassing the people he discussed in the video. Roughly 2 hours of it consists of an elaborate dramatic takedown of James Somerton, the aforementioned queer video essayist that plagiarized his YouTube videos. But through the formatting of his points and narrative framing, Harry's able to build up the act of plagiarism as if it's this Lovecraftian horror, an Avengers level threat. And because his video struck a chord with so many people, he accidentally led the audience of well over 20 million to engage with more drama YouTube. Again, the worst part of YouTube. That's the thing with drama content. You can either choose to ignore it and let it continue to exist, or you critique it by making a drama video, further continuing the cycle and increasing the influence the content has. People watched the video and decided to put even more time and effort into harassing a guy just to make sure his career was over, just in case. Eventually, it led to Somerton posting this. The whole fallout after this point is a mess. The people against Hbomb tried to blame his video, using the incident as an opportunity to go after him, and the people in support of him cared more about Harry's mental health than the guy who was thought to have ended his life. So what can we learn from this to prevent it from happening in the future? Well, probably not much. When it was finally revealed that Somerton did not in fact take his own life, people were so quick to immediately turn on him again, almost giving off the impression that it would have been better if he did. By making such a well-constructed yet brutally positioned hit piece, Hbomb unintentionally rallied a crowd against one guy. While in the video he was able to criticize Somerton for being melodramatic in regards to death threats, at this point they're a lot more real. Somerton, to me, gives off the impression of someone who wanted to make good videos to live up to his peers, yet he lacked the talent as well as the will to improve. In order to make art of any quality, the first wall that needs to be broken down is your ego, preventing you from putting out a bad project. Everyone likes to believe that they can only make good work, and they can, so long as they never make anything. But to make something good, you have to go through that process of making something bad. And the issue when taking shortcuts is that the opportunity to refine your skills never actually comes. After a certain point, he was no longer able to make anything of substance without directly stealing from someone else. And he kept stealing until ultimately his actions stole his career from him. While Hbomb frames Somerton's plagiarism as a malicious act, trying to silence gay writers, I think it's a lot more likely that his actions are a result of ignorance rather than maliciousness. I think the reason I sympathize with Somerton so much is because I could see myself in his position. Like him, I want the respect of my peers, and am terrified to release a bad project. While I've never outright plagiarized anything, there have been occasions where I borrowed ideas a little too closely and have been called out for it. Basically, I want to denote my own bias here. But either way, Harry Brewis is no YouTuber god, so why do people surround him like he's the Messiah? Because he makes great videos. After all, when you spend months and months working on something, it only makes sense to show off your best qualities. So what's the point with this whole section? Cancel Hbomb? No, obviously not. Just keep in mind that any facts and the context they're provided in will always, ultimately, be formed by his perspective. Take what he says with a grain of salt, because there will always be more to the story. Maybe I'm just jaded, but I feel like everyone should have these moments. The little things we can point out to remind ourselves that the people we watch online aren't perfect, just the most polished versions of themselves. But let's be real here. In general, while a topical example, it isn't the most potent. At the end of the day, no one would kill for Hbomberguy, right? But next I want to talk about a craze that goes even deeper, yet a connection that still feels all the more shallow. The Dream Team is a group of Minecrafters you're probably already sickeningly aware of. On the surface, they're just a group of people playing a block game, and yes, that's exactly what it is. But ask any of their dedicated audience, and they'll try to make this into so much more than content. Because to a lot of these more dedicated fans, it is. Watching content by this circle of creators is interesting. As I talked about earlier, a lot of streamers use the idea of a group of friends in order to retain an audience, and here it becomes a central part of the content. A big entertainment factor in these videos is seeing how these familiar faces react to the challenges presented. And by watching these videos, you get a good idea of what it would be like to be friends with these people. You're living it vicariously through the videos. Because of that, a lot of people do really want to be friends with these guys. In many ways, Dream's fanbase is reflective of himself. He's someone who spent so much time studying YouTube that it took over his life. And because of this, he's made it to the point where hundreds of millions of people are aware of him. And out of that, a very small subsection is just as dedicated to him as he was with YouTube. This surfaces in the form of the most parasocially inclined audience ever seen on YouTube. His manhunts were a novel idea that got a lot of people through the door, but the atmosphere of a guy playing a game with his friends became the glue that built his empire. That atmosphere is what struck a chord with so many lonely people in 2020, one of the loneliest times. All of these factors came together in the form of the Dream SMP. What started out as Dream wanting a server to play on with friends became this developing story where the creators involved played characterized versions of themselves. Creators as a whole already play characters in the form of their personas, But with the SMP, that was pushed even further. A character playing a character, and is a big reason why stans have a tendency to treat these real people as they would fictional characters, for better and worse, making fan art and fan animations, but a lot of those including shipping. With such a big audience, this naturally led to some of the most unexpectedly well-written fanfiction ever. Heatwaves is a really long fanfiction that was almost single-handedly responsible for catapulting a niche indie song into the mainstream. It follows Dream in his ongoing efforts to date George Not Found, another Minecraft YouTuber he makes videos with. And that would be perfectly fine if it wasn't about two real-life people, presumably in their own relationships. But clearly Dream didn't mind this attention. In fact, he utilized it by making jokes constantly. By playing into the jokes and appeasing this audience, Dream had effectively started a cult around him and his friends. A cult that would lead to one of the nastiest communities the internet would ever see. This appeasing would become ever more common, as every time Dream would be called out for the smallest of infractions, he would immediately issue a public apology, and accept all responsibility for his actions. This precedent would only get more and more limiting. Then, after a while, uploads slowed down. He would devote more and more of his time to music only his diehard audience was remotely interested in. And he would completely cease production on the things that people liked him for in the first place. After his face reveal, some allegations would surface, and Dream's massive cult following would be split in half. A Twitter civil war would begin between the Dream stans and the newfound X stans. Now, Dream stans like to imagine real-life Minecraft gamers in romantic relationships, and write fanfiction several times longer than actual novels. With how enveloping that worship is, all that devotion, all that attachment doesn't just go away. Let's say that all of those feelings of love were to be turned into a sentiment of hostility, hate, and betrayal. Welcome to Dream's worst nightmare. I mentioned in the last section how fickle the public view of someone is. The way everyone went from brigading to defending to ridiculing James Somerton. But to put this respectfully, who really gives a shit about James Somerton? I didn't watch any of his videos, and statistically, most of the people watching Hbom's video didn't either. But Dream's crew? With a fanbase like that, who needs enemies? Now, I'm gonna give maybe a hot take. Were the things Dream was getting accused of really the main reason for the backlash? Obviously, whenever anyone gets allegations, an amount of people immediately go after them. But a part of me thinks there may have been ulterior motives behind the internet's sudden turn on Dream. In fact, it wasn't really sudden at all. Even before any allegations, people would constantly insult the guy, like the music video for his song Mask, or his general cringy behavior. And if it's not him, then it's his fanbase. Dream was a titan of the industry, a man who made it to the top of the mountain, a YouTuber god. And wouldn't it be satisfying to see a god fall? I can't help but see it as a New Coke scenario, where even people who couldn't care less about the subject are driven to clown on the big entity in exchange for street cred. Before the drama, Dream had one of the most parasocially compassionate audiences. Now, he also has the most parasocially vitriolic. I think an underlying layer for his own audience's sudden turn lies in his lack of uploads. From the allegations till his response, he only posted 7 videos in a nearly year-long stretch. I have no doubt that a sizable portion of his audience felt some sort of betrayal, that their favorite creator was ignoring them to make music instead. It sounds to me more like parasocial breakup than any one thing Dream was accused of doing. I have no intentions of defending Dream from anything he might have done, but I also can't help but question the intent of the people criticizing him. Do they hate Dream for his actions, or do they hate his actions because he's Dream? Come on, is it really a surprise I'd talk about him? This is like the 4th video I've done with him in the thumbnail. The case of Mr. Beast is interesting. I could talk about his dreadful comment section, comprised of children asking for money, or the platoon of clone channels, or how Mr. Beast ruined YouTube. But I think it would be more interesting to look into something else. How Mr. Beast killed Jimmy Donaldson. Other YouTubers like Dream directly engage with the parasocial audience, but Mr. Beast has made it to such a high level of YouTube that his personality would actually be limiting his reach. After all, if you have a personality, people might have a reason to hate you. Before today's game shows, 2020's challenges, or 2018's PewDiePie advertising, I knew MrBeast as a very different creator making a very different type of content. 2016 was a very different era, politically and culturally. For the longest time, MrBeast was just like everybody else, commentating over gameplay footage, until he would eventually get his big break, bullying children. Yep, MrBeast has had a long and storied YouTube career. For years upon years, he was willing to make anything, do anything for that formula, that gateway to success. And he'd eventually find a style of video that's universally enjoyable, giving money to people, either people in need or just to anyone with a game show twist. Once the solution to YouTube success is pointed out, it's kind of obvious. He took advantage of everyone's obsession with wealth, whether buying expensive things, giving expensive things, or watching people try to win expensive things, selling that fantasy to people. Erasing his own personality is crucial in his modern videos because a lot of the time he's supposed to act as a vessel for the viewers to live vicariously through. In some videos, he barely even shows up, and when he does, it's as a disconnected host. It kind of shows just how thin he's spread with the size of his operation. He simultaneously filmed several different videos at once on several different channels. At least, back when he posted on a lot of them. But before becoming a host, the challenge content started with Jimmy and his friends competing to win. Whoever lasts in a circle long enough wins, or can Jimmy last 24 hours in slime, or underwater? These types of challenge videos are still being made today, but the focus changed from showcasing the struggles to just showing the audience the spectacle. That disconnect makes his modern content a lot more sterile, more corporate. The added layer of VFX makes his videos a lot more comparable to movies or television than a regular YouTube video. He painted over the rustic charm YouTube was known for to satisfy a bigger audience, and it worked. Everyone stopped watching television, so we can all watch MrBeast instead. Yet, it lacks any of the depth movies or television offer in their storytelling. That's why his Amazon Prime show, Beast Games, fell flat to so many people. It spent too much time focusing on the spectacle, the $5 million, then $10 million prize, the $1.8 million island, and the 1,000 contestants, that it never focuses on one of them. Most contestants never even get names. It's kind of fitting. The main problem with his content, and Beast Games, is the same issue with his entire brand. It's a lack of personality. In the show, even outside of the games, it displays a lack of uniqueness, using impact font with everyone wearing bootleg Squid Game outfits, which is funny considering how dystopian the show comes off at points. But despite every complaint I have towards the show and his company, it doesn't matter. By now, he's made it to the point where he's too big to fail. I'm sure everyone on the platform is aware of the firestorm of allegations last year, thrown towards both MrBeast and the people working under him. And as you might guess, the most popular YouTuber being exposed left and right by everyone around him led to YouTube drama being as popular as it was in 2016. Videos going after him are as widespread as drama could get. But the most awe-inspiring thing about this is that in the grand scheme of things, it barely caused a dent to his career. The size of MrBeast's brand is unprecedented. He has a lot more in common with McDonald's or Amazon than any of the creators in this image. The biggest videos criticizing him are by a former employee with the YouTube channel Dogpack404. He has some decent points, he grasps at some straws, but generally the videos are about as good as they could be. But the effects of those videos are negligible to the man himself. At the time, people might have seen this as David versus Goliath, but in reality, it was a mortal man versus a god. Even with the entire internet standing behind them, the videos only have about 10 million views each. An insane number for a normal video, but compared to the average MrBeast video, it's a fraction. Less than 1/10. MrBeast's audience aren't the most tech literate. They're people like my parents, or younger cousins. People that will probably remain unaware of the allegations and continue watching anyways. In hindsight, this really shouldn't be a surprise. That the biggest YouTube channel is just another corporation. He started his rise helping PewDiePie beat T-Series, but he ended up just becoming them. And I'm tired of people pretending otherwise. If there's a YouTuber god, it's MrBeast. There could very well never be another most popular YouTuber ever, and I wouldn't be surprised. Some of the most popular channels on this site are literally just people doing their best impressions of his videos. People don't just idolize him, they worship this man. And why wouldn't they? He took the platform and optimized video creation so well, he destroyed the site and rebuilt it in his image. He's achieved what everyone on YouTube could only dream of. He knows the algorithm inside and out, and is rewarded with an unprecedented, an incomprehensible level of success. Just one MrBeast video eclipses my entire career in terms of both metrics and notoriety. He's already on a different level, even next to fellow big creators. This first came to me when he made a video where the world's most popular YouTubers all compete to win their fans $1 million. It's crazy to think that there was a time where he was on the same playing field as these people. About 5 years ago, he was just another competitor participating in Minecraft Monday, alongside Ninja, an up-and-coming Technoblade, and Call Me Carson at the height of his career. But a lot can change in 5 years. Now, he's the one hosting the competition. He's on another level compared to the people around him. He has more subscribers than anyone there, probably combined. The divide between creator and god only grows. He's in a tier of his own now, and it's lonely at the top. 50 YouTubers fight for $1 million, much like most MrBeast videos, was good content, but it was a terrible video. It suffers from retention syndrome, where creators aren't allowed to be impressionable, so they seem like gutted versions of themselves. Instead of getting to be their own individuals, they're all just blue shirts, with a number printed on the back. It's the same problem that permeates throughout Beast games. It makes me wonder how much personality you could include before something starts to get parasocial. Anything with soul or meaning put into it is bound to elicit some sort of emotional reaction, one that could lead to an attachment with the person behind the art. If I think parasocial relationships are gross and icky, then technically this video is exactly what I want. It's content that doesn't disguise itself as anything but there's nothing to hold on to as a work of art. There's no message, no thesis, because those things require personality and require bias. The main problem with MrBeast is that they simultaneously want to make emotional, more story-driven videos that also appeal to everyone regardless of background. That usually means the main emotions boil down to, wow, they're so lonely when they're alone, and wow, they have a family? All of this tells me that in order for your stories to have personality, you have to infuse it with personality. And when you don't, you get MrBeast. A channel with everything, except for meaning. It's just unfortunate that, in this case, meaning is the only thing that doesn't matter. Now, I'll admit, at first glance, SunnyV2 seems like a really odd channel to discuss. He's as content-oriented as you can get, with no personality to be attached to whatsoever. But in a lot of ways, he's successful in the same ways as MrBeast, getting views and money, but failing to leave behind anything of substance. Have you ever noticed that modern YouTube documentaries are all a bit samey? The videos are higher quality than ever, they're edited well at least. But under the surface, so many of these videos are vapid. They look pretty, but once you stop and think about their contents, the videos don't say anything. And what little they do say are the same things we've heard again and again. Nothing new is being brought to the table. This is all because of one man, who practically reinvented the genre. In this case, the parasocial relationship isn't between a creator and their audience, but an established creator to up-and-comers. A number of years ago, Sunny actually made pretty good videos with actual points, about topics he seemed to care about. But somewhere along the way, it became top 10 Joe Rogan moments, and now he's Watch Mojo but with a little more production value. Every video he makes is around 10 to 12 minutes, and has maybe a couple regurgitated points each. By the time you finish a SunnyV2 video, you're the exact same as when you started, and you barely know more about the situations he covers. Sunny doesn't really care about anything he releases, at least not in the same way other creators do. He's a content farm. His entire business model is based on taking other people's previously successful videos and recreating them with little to no additional info brought to the table, short of reading out tweets and Reddit posts. I know this because he's done it to me. Remember that Ryan movie video I did? That one did pretty well. Well, it seems a certain someone also noticed because on the 13th of February 2025, Sunny uploaded a video called The Catastrophic Failure of the Ryan's World movie. Now keep in mind, nobody cared about the Ryan movie for months after it came out, and yet all of a sudden, Sunny's going back to covering Ryan's World after 4 years. For added proof it was taken from me, you can look right here. The video itself is a shallow summary of the movie without any of the jokes, character, or creativity of the original. But don't worry, this one has Reddit posts. It seems after this he went through my back catalog and started yoinking more. But this time, he doesn't directly cite me. Instead, his Angry Birds video cites some other Sunny V2 clone, and his PVZ video cites the original Downfall video by Milkman Steve. This video came out over 4 years after Steve's video, and yet despite multiple iterations bringing new information to the table, namely the 3-hour-long Danerade deep dive, Sunny transfers none of the nuance needed to get a proper understanding of the situation. It's exactly the same as all the other videos from years ago, including mine. But here's the kicker. My original PVZ and Ryan videos were inspired by Sunny V2! When I saw his original Ryan video, it reminded me of that kart racing game I saw, called Race with Ryan. When I saw his original Rise and Fall format, I was inspired to take it and put my own spin on it, covering a game franchise I grew up with instead of a YouTuber like Sunny used to do. When Sunny gets the opportunity to do the same thing back, he just takes the original video and re-edits it. I'm not saying he's not allowed to take ideas or get inspired, everyone does it. I think it bothers me for the same reason Mr. Beast bothers me. When you spend years trying to build an audience, only for someone with a platform 10 times bigger than yours to remake your video and bury it in search and analytics, it makes you start to doubt yourself. I think it's only fitting that Sunny also gets cloned a lot. Not because the videos are good, but for the growth, the analytics. If you want to see the number go up without any of the annoying additions like having a lasting impact or having a personality, you could always just follow Sunny's approach. This is Internet Anarchist. After failing to become a TF2 YouTuber, he pivoted to becoming Sunny V3. He now makes the exact same videos as Sunny, but longer, with a closer focus on YouTube drama. This is Turkey Tom. After making decent documentaries on his own, he began hiring editors and writers and now has become Sunny V4, with his own ugly stylized thumbnails and everything. He now makes the exact same videos as Sunny, but longer, with a closer focus on YouTube drama. This is Ryan Pictures. This is Juneplug. This is Maddie Ball. This is Patrick CC. This is Luista. This is the entire corner of documentary YouTube, and it sucks. There are so many Sunny clones that Sunny clones are teaching other Sunny clones how to clone.
So this is how Internet Anarchist helped me with his consulting services, I guess you could say.
I referred to this as disguised slop in the slop video, but I think a more appropriate term would be content mill syndrome. They make good content and have a mindset for improvement, but it's directed towards the algorithm and not the audience. Sometimes those overlap, but usually it ends with the ultimate goal of getting people to not leave rather than actually be invested. The goal is to achieve the bare minimum. I've heard a lot of people say that Sunny makes video essays, but I feel like that's overstating it quite a bit. Sunny makes influencer drama recaps, internet tabloids, and the same goes for practically everyone on this list, just with their own sub-niches. Sunny took internet discourse and, you'll never guess, shaped it into his own image. He was the one who first started putting YouTube drama next to celebrity culture, and that made the internet landscape closer to Hollywood. He's part of the reason public perception of YouTubers went from relatability to god status. He's the reason Critical is seen as this all-powerful superhero. He even kicked off the 7 Deadly Sins trend I was complaining about earlier with a video on celebrities. Actually, you know what? So let's say you accidentally fall in love with the works of a creator who doesn't even know you exist. There are a lot of very normal and not at all creepy things you can do about this, like finding their address and breaking into their house in the middle of the night to watch them sleep. But if you don't want to be arrested, another valid solution is just to humanize the person you're watching. Something I recommend is to go out and watch your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTubers. Usually when I'm blown away by a work of art, it's mostly because it's something I've never seen before. Usually, if you can find the ideas they're lifting from, you get a better understanding of their thought process, and they no longer seem so far above you. To me, parasocial attachment and being inspired are two sides of the same coin. They're both one-way acts that when taken too far can become problematic. I already went over a handful of other prevalently worshipped creators. But for this next section, I want to healthily scrutinize who I'd consider to be my idol, my greatest inspiration throughout the entire course of my career. Now I'll warn you, we're about to enter some pretty intense levels of parasociality, and it'll get pretty awkward. Okay, my favorite YouTuber is Emperor Lemon. Before that, I kind of just floated from video to video, watching cool stuff, but never sticking around for any one channel. Then all of that changed when I watched a video of his. I can't remember which one, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that Emp's content has stuck with me. It's shaped my style since the very beginning, when I hadn't seen anything like it, and now that I've made videos with a similar style, I feel like I can appreciate his work even more. Not as a fan, but as a filmmaker. Up here. I can pick up on the narrative techniques he uses to make his documentaries so gripping. I recognize the thought process behind the connections he makes, and can even find the connections between the music he uses and the videos he uses them in. After so many years of watching him, I feel a certain kinship with the guy. After all, we have quite a lot in common. We both try to make the best videos possible after switching from a less respected form of content, and were rewarded because of it. We've both been on the platform since we were children, and we grew up with YouTube poop. But when I look back, I'm not entirely sure if these are similarities, or just me being a copycat. I might have been a little too attached.
Do you have an inspiration? If so, who? I'm mostly inspired by the former YouTube pooper Emperor Lemon, mostly due to his unique editing style.
Sometimes, I feel like I've used Emp's videos as a base to build my own career. He inspired my editing style, writing style, video ideas, certain segments. When I wanted to build my own connection with the audience, I looked into the writing techniques from frying comments. It only made sense. I want to make the best videos I can, so why not borrow from the best? But I feel like I should have borrowed a little more from other sources. Steal from many and that's inspiration. Steal from one and you're a clone. For a period of time, I would literally just try doing my own versions of videos of his I liked. I'd take an idea he brought up and extrapolate it into its own video. Even now, his channel remains as one of my most consistent stops on the Inspiration Express. And it clearly isn't just me. I was just the one who did it the most. For the most part, I take any comparisons to his work as a compliment, but I also can't help but feel a certain level of imposter syndrome. In the last few years, I've branched out of just watching his stuff. After all, the guy only posts like once every few months. And during that time, I found some other people to be inspired by. As I continued to improve, I'd narrow that gap between myself and the people I got inspired by. Eventually, I made it to a point where revisiting his old videos, they weren't as perfect as I remember them being. The editing was simpler, the writing less sharp, but the videos themselves hadn't changed. I just make better videos in 2024 than Emp did in 2017. The god status dissipated as I kept working to get there. Today, he's just a guy who makes above average videos, and realistically, that's all he ever should have been. I call this section Death to False Prophets, but it's important to point out that this whole time, Emp isn't trying to portray himself as one. At least, not explicitly. The person I really looked up to was an image of the ideal YouTuber I constructed in my head to motivate myself, that just happened to share the same name as someone who makes good videos. I related to his tales, I sympathized with his plight, and because of that, I resonated more with the work he made. Basically, I had to figure out for myself about... I'm sure you've noticed by now, but parasocial relationships kind of give me an ick. And time again, throughout the making of this video, I've been trying to find the words to explain exactly why. And I think I finally found it. So for that tiny section on Bo Burnham I did like half an hour ago, I went back and rewatched all of his comedy specials. And when I got back onto YouTube, the algorithm noticed, and I was driven headfirst into the inside video essay rabbit hole, where channels with a few thousand subscribers or less would try to give their best attempt to dissect it. I watched several of these, and each one was actually able to stand out on its own. But a lot of them look into the authenticity of both the special and of Bo's career as a whole. Because Bo's always been so open about the pre-planned nature of his show, giving the illusion that he's dropped the curtain, a lot of people felt an urge to pay that back by recognizing it and responding to that authenticity with praise. But the thing is that this authenticity is just another part of the performance. When he talks about his mental health struggles and performs a breakdown on stage, that's a part of the art. The finale of Make Happy was largely filmed alone with no audience. Now, I don't doubt that these are reflective of his actual feelings, and it's fine to resonate with or relate to his art. Just keep in mind that you like Bo's comedy, his songs. Bo got his start a long time ago on YouTube. He was one of the many people back in the day to go viral, as they put it, all the way back in June 2008 with his song I'm Bo Yo. YouTube as a platform was built on the idea of authenticity. It was this platform where people could broadcast themselves for everyone else to see. At the same time, that meant everyone was on the same level. The only thing separating a creator from a viewer was pressing a button and talking into their webcam. But along the way, things would change. People like Bo making silly little videos could be given real attention, gain a real path to mainstream success. By attaining an audience on YouTube, you'll be one step closer to an actual celebrity, until eventually it becomes impossible to tell the difference. This fundamentally separates creators and viewers, and yet that idea of authenticity would remain as one of YouTube's strongest draws. Sure, it wasn't as polished as television, but the people who made those videos were people. A lot of people seem to notice that as a small creator they like gets bigger, they continually get less sincere. As a YouTube channel grows, the higher number leads to higher expectations from the person making them. More time goes into the quality department, and a lot of the time that leads to making a more manufactured, synthetic video. A lot of the time, that can be a downside. Channels like The Odd Ones Out got popular by being a relatable guy telling stories. But as that sub count kept growing, the relatability fell further and further out of sight. Today he has an entire fleet of animators employed, making quality videos, but not the type of videos people subscribed for. People initially came to James because he wasn't like other YouTubers, and in response, he became just like them. But I wouldn't say it's fair to say James had become inauthentic. He's just following the natural process that comes with growing. In fact, I'd be inclined to say that it would be more inauthentic if he pretended to be bad at drawing just to make it seem like he's one of the viewers again. That sub count changes people. It's changed your favorite YouTuber, and it's changed me. I feel like pretending to still be relatable can be just as inauthentic as polished, well-edited videos because those creators almost seem like they're afraid to showcase improvement. This video is painstakingly edited, and you can call that insincere because there's more of a layer between us, but I think it would be less sincere if I stripped everything back and pretended to be bad at editing just to give myself the illusion that I'm more relatable. For internet personalities, authenticity is very, very important, but because of the nature of content creation on YouTube, you'll often find that the biggest creators aren't the most authentic, but the best at pretending to be. In a video going over MrBeast clones and the problems I have with mainstream YouTube, I bring up Ryan Trahan. If there's a YouTuber who perfectly describes performative authenticity, I think it's Ryan. His videos are designed to be comforting, and because of that, a lot of people describe him as one of the realest creators. But can you really say you're genuine when you have over 10 million subscribers and are actively getting paid to act like it? The ads for his candies are really interesting because he almost frames it as his audience helping out a friend. But he's literally selling you a product.
Over the last couple weeks, we've seen a spike in our ranking because you guys are joining the climb.
I'm sure the man himself is fine, but the character he plays kind of feels like it was made in a boardroom. Take sugar, spice, and everything nice, mix it together, and you get Ryan Trahan. But I think it's important to remember that YouTubers are not your friends. Streamers are not your friends. Instagrammers, Twitter users, most people you know on the internet don't know you. And if they do, it's a vague projection of you. Sorry if you don't want to hear this, or if you're already aware but aren't ready to accept it. I know a number of friends that religiously watch online creators, especially streamers, and feel a personal connection after they share their life experiences and opinions with you. But you're being used. I think it's unreal just how many careers were made off the back of looking cool in front of 14-year-olds. The worst streamers have a lot in common with parasites. They'll waste your time with mild amusement, then berate you for not showering them into balloons. You can say the same thing with a lot of YouTubers. Once they make it to a certain status, they no longer respect the audience, and become willing to throw away any credibility they might have had to nickel and dime the very viewers they needed to get into that position in the first place. This gets even weirder as the subscriber count increases. MrBeast has famously toned down the personality in his videos to appeal to more people. Yet, because he's so popular, people really want to get to know the guy. The same thing very much happens to popular streamers. Much like mainstream YouTubers like Ryan, the most popular Twitch streamers always came off as quite shallow to me. Yet, people still find themselves getting attached. Look at Ludwig, for example. When watching his streams, it's hard to look past his surface level character. but to younger viewers, they connect with his projected personality traits. And of course, I've experienced a good amount of this too. I've talked before about creepy fans making my private info public, but it also comes up in less creepy ways. Being a creator myself, I've been on both sides of the parasocial landscape. I've been to all the stops on the train of inspiration. I've borrowed ideas from those I look up to, and I've had my ideas extrapolated to inspire others. As a YouTuber, parasocial relationships are especially interesting. What might be parasocial as a viewer just becomes social once you pass a certain number of subscribers. There have been times where I find a smaller channel, watch several of their videos, and become legitimately parasocially connected with them, only for me to reach out and become friends because I'm a fellow creator. If I were just another viewer, it'd be weird. But with the power of clout, I'm able to just reach out to these people. My following acts almost like a rite of passage to talk to people similar to myself. That number next to my name is a sign of credibility. But funnily enough, in real life it's almost the opposite. When Minecraft SMPs became popular, you'd see newer Minecraft players playing alongside the veterans that got them into YouTube in the first place. But the up-and-coming YouTubers meeting their idols wasn't because they were less parasocial, but because they were more parasocial. They were so attached, so adamant about being like them, that they worked their way up to being on that level. I'm a rare case where this whole YouTube thing is actually working out. And several channels that I used to just be a fan of, I've talked to and worked with. I get happy when certain videos of theirs do well, and sad when others don't, because these people are my friends. We can commiserate at our worst and celebrate when we get past it. I'm also in the even rarer position where my channel has actually grown bigger than a lot of my favorite creators. And as I would grow in my own YouTube journey, I'd slowly find myself closer and closer to the inspirations I've looked up to, in terms of both audience and content. Something no one ever points out is that when you're a bigger YouTuber, you don't really feel like it. From your perspective, you're the same guy you've always been, but that obviously isn't true. Knowing my audience, there's a very real chance you've seen this video by 4i Freak, called The Strange Lore of Pixel Gun 3D. On his channel page is a collection of his personal inspirations and channels he likes, and right next to my own friends and inspirations is me, listed right alongside the channels I myself used to idolize. Someone was touched enough by my work to be inspired to create something of their own. Since then, I've actually reached out, and we've had some conversations through Twitter DMs about general YouTuber stuff. I can imagine talking to me was as surreal to him as talking with my inspirations was for me. And it isn't just him. Frequently I get notified when people tag me in videos, and there's a whole subgenre of people inspired by me. Moments like these are a lot more visceral than just seeing a number go up on a screen. It's incredible. But at the same time, it's still a harrowing reminder of the position I'm really in. That these people are looking up to me, almost like someone on a higher plane. It always makes me a bit uncomfortable noticing this line, this divide I have between myself and the audience that watches me, and it makes me even less comfortable to be pointing it out. Most YouTubers try to look past it, to ignore it in an attempt to be seen as more relatable, to allow the viewers to keep pointing at the screen and saying, "You're just like me." But that's not entirely accurate, is it? People let my opinions carry more weight because there's a number next to my name. In YouTube comments, my name is highlighted because I have a check mark. Every once in a while, I'll enter a small stream, and the creator treats me differently. This isn't inherently a bad thing, just something I have to accept so long as I'm a public figure in the online space. A space that, to many, is becoming more and more real than the world around them. I don't really feel like a YouTuber. I don't feel like anyone does. A tough pill I had to swallow growing up was the harsh realization that adults are just larger kids. And likewise, YouTubers are just larger viewers. As far as you're concerned, every channel bigger than you knows what they're doing, and you're still down there with the rest of the audience. Over time, you rise so slowly that you don't recognize this change until you look back down from the top of the mountain. You're still you, the same you that uploaded Minecraft videos, that had a big breakout hit, that grew because of it and also grew away from it. I kept making more, and eventually I got tired of doing certain videos, so I shifted to other ones. Eventually, people start to reach out, asking for writing advice or editing tips, and I don't know, I just look at the people around me and take the things I like. At some points, I'm not sure whether I have imposter syndrome or if I just am an imposter. Even this line was taken from that Hbomberguy video. Damn it! Something that makes it especially weird is the fact that... So back in late June, I attended my very first VidCon. And not to brag, but it was a pretty magical experience. But not in the ways you might have guessed. The convention itself was an adventure of its own, but the real highlights were connecting with other creators and directly talking to some of the people that most inspire me. The hope was that I might be able to continue that cycle of inspiration, to become a stop on someone else's train. Meeting these people in person is about what I expected. A little awkward at first, but I made some connections, and more importantly, I made some friends. VidCon allowed me to see what happens when parasocial relationships are taken to the physical world. I was able to see fans interacting with creators in real time. On one of the days I was there, I met up with Johnny Razor, a shorts creator known for both his own videos as well as being the man behind Shorts Wars, a multi-channel spanning series that brings together a lot of recognizable shorts tubers like Royal Pear, Bundun, and Dano Draws. Also being one of the few shorts channels that are primarily in front of the camera, it was really easy to recognize him from a distance. When we met, he and his crew were hiding out on the second floor, trying to avoid the potential mob of people that would recognize him. Overnight, Johnny went from someone who made videos in his room to receiving full celebrity treatment. Going to ground level was a harrowing cycle. Things would go well for a while, but after enough time someone would eventually recognize Johnny, ask for a picture and autograph, and move on. But during that time, someone else who would have just walked by would also recognize him and gain the courage to ask for that as well. Next thing you know, a line is formed, and people who didn't even recognize Johnny are joining the crowd because he became an attraction. At VidCon, the convention is what you make of it. For parents and kids, they may be underwhelmed by the lukewarm entertainment from the booths and panels, so they have to make their own events to justify the price point. From a creator's perspective, it's much of the same. The main draw of VidCon is just having so many creators in one place. Hell, a lot of people I met didn't even step inside the convention center. But I was able to notice an eerie parallel between how fans reacted to Johnny and how other creators reacted to JonTron. While I was there, I was invited to a few parties, and I remember distinctly, I was talking to one of the party's hosts about God knows what, when someone else comes in and whispers in his ear, "JonTron's here." Immediately we start repeating, did he say JonTron? There's no way. But next thing you know, then comes in the man himself. And everyone in the whole house practically circled around him, wanting to spend some time talking to a YouTuber god. Me included. But a part of me felt bad for the guy. He was almost always surrounded by a cycling group of people just clamoring to talk to him. He's made it to a point where even fellow respected creators, people I look up to myself, were almost fanboying out right in front of him. The celebrity treatment followed him even when he left behind the convention entirely. What can I say that I haven't already? It's lonely at the top. So YouTube has this feature where you can see the amount of people that have unsubscribed. Currently, the number is sitting at well over 100,000 unsubscribers. From a broader viewpoint, that sounds pretty bad. Approximately 1/5 of people who hit the subscribe button will eventually go on to reconsider. But when looking at the nature of my channel, you can see a different picture. I do so many different videos on so many different things that it's impossible to guess what I might make next. But I also see how that can scare off people who like getting what they expect. People looking for consistent comfort content. It's always weird when I see comments saying they miss my old videos, my old style, my old voice, as if I were able to do anything about it. With this sentiment, the paradigm shifts from my own relationship with the audience to a version of me that literally does not exist. A memory of someone who's no longer here. There's one comment in particular responding to someone who noticed this change positively, that reads, "Nah, he went from a guy that has been making zany-ish videos that had him goofing around in janky games to a cookie-cutter editing, it's serious guys kind of commentary about things that everyone who's been on YouTube for more than 6 years knows about." I never officially announce when I'm retiring certain series. I want to say this is because I might someday choose to pick one back up when I'm bored, but I know the real intention is to avoid scaring people off. Longtime viewers remember the What Killed series. In the third installment I looked at Zeptolab and their classic cut the rope games. The conclusion I pointed to for its decline was their abandonment of their older formula, alienating familiar players and ultimately appealing to no one. Most of the time, people subscribe to a specific channel on YouTube on very specific pretenses. The YouTuber makes videos, usually just one specific type of video, and the audience tunes in to watch. But when I look at my own stuff, there's a pretty big difference. People subscribe because of different videos, and the neat thing about rarely touching the same thing twice is that your favorite video of mine, the video tailored specifically to you, the one that got you to subscribe in the first place, will probably never be made again. This might suck, but the silver lining is that every video will be unique. Every single video. And if you stick around for long enough, who knows, I might even make something even more in line with what you like. I can point and laugh at 100k unsubscribers. I'd honestly take this over the bloated alternative. But when I see that number, the amount of people that, one way or another, were alienated from my own videos, a small, terrified part of me flinches. The landscape of YouTube is mainly composed of two parts: the creators and the audience surrounding them. The viewers are individually powerless, but combined, they can make or break someone's career. It's scary, knowing that someday, at a point that's just far enough to not see coming, I'll be deserted by the audience that used to watch me. I understand why streamers play into these parasocial relationships. It's not just to manipulate viewers into donating, it's to manipulate viewers into remembering you. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. Quality plus vulnerability equals a consistent reoccurring viewer base. Come for the topic, stay for the personality. Pointing this out could spell the end of my career, or it can antithetically cause people to get even more attached, recognizing whatever I say here as real. I guess that's just the nature of personal art. If you attach to it, you're also attaching yourself to the artist behind it. It makes me wonder how much of this is even a problem to begin with. The day I fully detached with my audience was sometime in early 2023, when after 5 years of weekly uploads, I finally made the decision to disable comment notifications. Believe it or not, but for years I was devoted to reading every single comment, but eventually I stopped, when people vocally complained about the shortcomings of my first long-form video essay. So I severed the connection. I stopped valuing the opinions of the viewers, and in turn I acted more like the YouTubers I respect. When I think about the motives behind wanting to talk to my inspirations to begin with, things get a little more clear. Much like consuming a piece of media, taking inspiration is a one-way act. It's my own parasocial relationship. The people you look up to have no guarantee of knowing you exist. I wanted to meet the YouTubers I take inspiration from because after taking so many other ideas, I want people to take mine. That way I can validate my own constant consumption of other people's work. Maybe I can forgive my own lack of originality by helping someone else achieve theirs. What does it even mean to be original? I made a video about the worst games of all time, and the main criticism the video received had nothing to do with anything from the video. The style, the script, the points, none of that. People just didn't like that my original documentary about the worst games ever made was on a topic that many perceived as oversaturated, even though I looked for a popular video with the same topic, title, and presentation and couldn't find anything. To put it simply, originality is overrated. Your favorite works are derivative, and the only thing that matters is if you do your own thing with an idea someone else had. Who cares if I borrowed some ideas from Lemon if I made something new out of them? I talked about my 100,000 unsubscribers a while ago, and while it's easy to get fixated on that, I think that's overlooking the 400,000 people that are still here. So to everyone here, especially the 100,000 or so people that go out of their way to watch every new video I put out, and the people that choose to watch certain videos solely because my name is attached, thank you. This is not a parasocial thank you as an individual, but a thank you to this fringe subsection of my audience. You know who you are, and you're not always the same people, but while some viewers might need creators, all creators need the viewers. I do not want to be your friend, but I'd be thankful and grateful to be your favorite YouTuber. So, parasocial relationships. The biggest thing I noticed when talking to YouTubers was a similar effect I've been trying to convey with this entire project. They're just normal, human people who occasionally make some really special projects. And by talking with them directly, sure, I killed their god status, but at the same time, I formed the friend status. Who knows? Maybe I'm just growing up and this is something everyone already goes through, completely independently of one another. But if I helped anyone else kill some gods, then you're welcome. Because creators on the internet are never worthy of god status, and killing that title will always be more healthy than not. I do want to reiterate one last time that parasocial relationships aren't always a bad thing. Without attachment to someone's art, we'll never be inspired to improve our own. Now that I really think about it, the train of inspiration is more like a cycle. If the people that make the most groundbreaking art are inspired by other people who make great art, then it's a net positive. The projects only get better as the cycle continues. And gaining an attachment with an artist, more often than not, makes the art itself more enjoyable. One of my favorite videos ever is The Tragic Demise of Plants vs. Zombies by Danerade. Not just because it's a great video and legitimate piece of journalism, but because I was there while he was working on it. He told me his concerns with the project, about spending the majority of the year working on a topic that's been discussed over a dozen times by a dozen different creators at this point, including myself. By that point, he made so few videos that he was more like an online friend than a creator I was a fan of. Then the video dropped, and it was surreal that the guy who made a video that I legitimately looked and still do look up to was also in the DMs responding to my live comments and questions about the video. It made watching it an otherworldly experience, and was a lot more special to me because of it. A part of me wonders if there's a parasocial problem at all, or if the real culprit is just problematic people. So long as you remember to keep that attachment to the work they make, you should be fine. This entire video is inherently hypocritical. I'm trying to talk about two completely separate things, elevating artists and parasocially connecting with them. The entire act of critiquing parasocial relationships is made void because I myself am using it to build up my own career. I started this mission to break down the barrier I felt between myself and the people around me. I could try poking holes in people I look up to. I could try explaining these feelings. By humanizing the YouTuber gods, I make them more relatable, and by extension, cause people to reinforce any parasocial connections. The unfortunate truth is that there really isn't a solution to this. I just have to accept the position I found myself in. People aren't designed to have a big audience of people around them at all times. It's just something that occasionally happens, and over time, we get used to it. I think it's finally time for a proper introduction. Hi, I'm Terror, or Ian, and I don't think we've ever really met. You've seen my videos, hell, you've been watching me for the last hour. But you don't know anything about me, so let's change that. Even if it's scary and uncomfortable. I grew up in a small town with nothing to do, and because of that, over time I gravitated towards the internet. Specifically, YouTube culture. Eventually, I watched enough that I decided to try it as well. And it kind of took over my life.
My subs are skyrocketing right now. Seriously, my subs are skyrocketing. What do you mean?
As a kid, you sort of play YouTuber. You ask for subscribers and post videos, but it isn't something to be taken seriously. But I did. Most kids on YouTube quit after a matter of weeks, but I stuck around. Throughout every important moment of my life, I've been making videos all the while, whether it's for 100 subscribers or 100,000. I'm a YouTuber now, but I'm not really sure if it was worth it. Sometimes I feel like I threw away everything else I had, committing to something that a lot of the time doesn't show that commitment back. You might have noticed that some of the stuff throughout this video might be a little outdated. As of right now, this project has been about a year in the making. From writing this in the background while working on other things, to the editing process taking over my life and forcing me to step out of the public spotlight. This experience has been grueling to me. For the past 12 years, I've dedicated my life around making videos. And when I'm not Terror, who am I? I have an overwhelming fear of being forgotten. It's a long-running motif in a lot of my videos. Legacy, memory, trying to stand out, and the inevitable, inescapable decline that follows any career. But at this point, the next What Killed video could be about myself. I've been making videos for years now, but it seems right as I finally have to rely on this platform, that's when it throws me to the wayside. And it's terrifying. Obviously, a lot of that is my own fault. Making less videos will obviously be a hit to the old analytics, but it's also the fact that over the last few years, I haven't really had any safety nets. No consistent series I could work on that can guarantee people coming back. Generally, I've been trying to be the best version of myself, making the best stuff I can, but no matter how hard I try, it never seems to make a difference. Because this platform still needs me to play into some parasocial dynamic if I want any sort of consistency in anything I do. This entire video is a manipulation tactic. Even in the more genuine seeming sections, the part where I say I could be ruining my career, it's just an act to get people to connect with my work, rewritten and reworked until it comes off the exact way I wanted it to. It's strategic vulnerability, and is arguably just as manipulative as anything I've talked about in this video. I guess all I can do is point out that this stuff exists, and to make people aware when they take things too far. I think there's something to be said that, consistently, in order to go through this journey of humanization, I've inadvertently had to dive to the very bottom of my own parasocial downward spiral. Hell, even just to make the thumbnail of this video, I photoshopped a crown onto Hbomb's head just to say that you shouldn't do exactly what I've done. But at the same time, I'm more regular social than ever. I met well over 30 new people on my trip to VidCon, Star featured my documentary in one of his videos, I frequently talk to other YouTubers on my podcast whenever I record it, and I'll just assume now that after this video goes up, I'm more respected than ever. Just remember to keep it limited to respect. Otherwise, parasocial problems may begin to arise. All of your favorite creators are lying to you. We don't care about you, we don't know you, and for the love of God, we are not your friends. So remember to like and subscribe, and donate money to my Patreon, and leave a comment talking about just how well this video resonated with you, and maybe even follow my Twitter for the hilarious things I say. I'm trapped in a network of complex systems that I can never truly pry myself from, endlessly forcing myself to perform in front of people, whether my audience, my friends, my family, or myself. I'll never be able to connect with people because the only thing I value in life is art. Anyone who talks to me will never hear the real me because I don't know if a real me even exists.